सत्संगे तरहुए भाव सिंधुरे, तरहुए भाव सिंधुरे। भजहु रे मन श्री नंदनंदन, अभय चरणारविंद रे। सीतातप बात परीसन, ये दिन जामिनी जागिरे। विफल से विनु कृपन दुर्जन, विफल से विनु कृपन दुर्जन, चपल सुख लभला किरे। भजहु रे मन श्री नंदनंदन, अभय चरणारविंद रे। ये धन यौवन पुत्र परिजन, इते कियाचे पर तीरे। कमल दल जल जीवन टलमल, कमल दल जल जीवन टलमल। भजहु हरिपद नीति रे, भजहु रे मन श्री नंदनंदन, अभय चरणारविंद रे। श्रवण कीर्तन स्मरण वंदन, पाद सेवन दास्य रे। श्रवण कीर्तन स्मरण वंदन, पाद सेवन दास्य रे। पूजन सखे जन आत्मनिवेदन, पूजन सखी जन आत्मनिवेदन। गोविंद दास अभिलाष रे, गोविंद दास अभिलाष रे। भजहु रे मन श्री नंदनंदन, अभय चरणारविंद रे। दुर्लभ मानव जन्म सत्संगे, दुर्लभ मानव जन्म सत्संगे, तरहुए भव सिंधुरे, तरहुए भव सिंधुरे। भजहु रे मन श्री नंदनंदन, अभय चरणारविंद रे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। भजहु रे मन श्री नंदनंदन, अभय चरणारविंद रे। दुर्लभ मानव जन्म सत्संगे, तरहुए भव सिंधुरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। दंडवत प्रणाम सुसेविका माता जी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
हरे कृष्णा माता जी, प्रणाम ब्यूटीफुल माता जी, हरि बोल, हरे कृष्णा।
हरि बोल माता जी, थैंक यू वेरी मच। You can start माता जी।
Yes, start. We'll do Radha Madhav and we start माता जी.
Yes माता जी, as you wish माता जी। हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्णा। जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी, जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी, जय यशोदा संजना, जय ब्रजबिनरञ्जना, जय यशोदानन्दना, जय ब्रजजनरञ्जना, जय यमुनातीरवर्ती, जय कुंज बिहारी, जय यमुनातीरवर्ती, जय कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हे कृष्णा 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 हरे राम 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 जय प्रभुपाद, जय प्रभुपाद, जय प्रभुपाद, जय प्रभुपाद, जय गुरुदेवा, जय गुरुदेवा, जय गुरुदेवा, जय गुरुदेवा, निताय गौर हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरि बोल, निताय गौर हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरि बोल, प्रभुपाद की जय, नाम संकीर्तन की जय, संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय। All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Guru and Gauranga. Hare Krishna. So we start with Mangalacharan and then we go ahead with the chapter. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadadi Swapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadeshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishnapeshtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Swaminati Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shatine. The invocation prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udire Nigamakalpatarorgalitam Phalam Shakamakadamrita Dravasamyutam Vivata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhuravo Rasika Bhuvi Bhavakaha Nashtaprayeshva Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Nashtiki. Hare Krishna. So I welcome you all to this session, morning session of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandat
Pranam. So I am doing this service to purify myself for the pleasure of my Guru Maharaj as his instruction and for the welfare of all the devotees over here. So we are in the second canto, isn't it? The cosmic manifestation, and we are in the 7th chapter. So what did we learn in this 7th chapter? Anushya Mataji, anyone of you would like to share?
About the incarnations of the Lord, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, the various incarnations. So this is the discussion between whom?
Brahma and Narada.
Yeah, Brahma and Narad Muni. In the 6th chapter, we saw that they discussed about the cosmic manifestation. And in the 6th chapter, it is about the various incarnations of the Lord, isn't it? So we saw that after discussing about the various incarnation, Lord Brahma is telling Narada that Narad Muni that no one can describe the greatness of the Lord. It is inconceivable, right? And even Anantashesha with his so many head, mouth, he is still continuing to describe about the glories of the Lord, and still he has not finished. So we understand that the glories of the Lord are unlimited, and we cannot just describe his greatness. But then in the 42nd verse, Lord Brahma is saying that, but only a surrendered soul can know about the Lord by his mercy. We need the mercy of the Lord. Only when we get the mercy of the Lord, then only we can understand. It is possible to understand. So for that, we have to surrender. Right? Only once we surrender, we get the mercy of the Lord, and thus we can understand the Lord. And then further, now in this 43rd verse onwards, we're going to understand that the various souls who have surrendered, the great personalities who have surrendered, and they have realized, they have the God conscious, they have realized the Supreme Lord. So from 43 to 45, it describes about the great personalities who have achieved. And then 46th verse, again, it gives the importance of surrender, that why it is important to surrender. And now we say that we have to surrender to the Lord. We are so sinful, so is it possible for us? So in that case, whom we should surrender? So how we have to surrender? When we say that surrender to the Lord, what do we understand by surrendering? And then further it describes about, now since this chapter is about the various incarnations of the Lord, so again Ramaji, he talks about the feature of the Lord, the Brahman and the Paramatma feature of the Lord. And then in the 48th verse, which is the last verse for today, we'll describe about, even though there is Brahman and the Paramatma feature, but it differentiates that how important it is to know about the Bhagwan feature of the Lord, which is Satchit and Anand. So this is about what we are going to cover. So I shared the screen. Maybe any devotee would like to read, can go ahead, the verses.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandatam.
Pranam. Because this is 45, 46 and 47. 43, 44 and 45. So
Okay.
one by one, each verse we can. So you can read the 45th, 43rd verse, Mataji.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you much. Vedahamanga Paramasya Yogamayam Yuyam Bhavasya Bhagavan Atadaitya Varyaha Patni Mano Sacha Manusha Tad Tadatmajasya Prachina Barhir Anga Uta Dhruvasya.
Yes, Shanti Mataji, you can read the 44th.
Yes, Mataji. Ikshvakur Aila Muchukunda Videha Gadi Raghav Ambarisha Sahara Gaya Nahushad Sadhyaha Mandhatar Alarka Satadhan Anuranti Deva Deva Vrato Balir Amrutatrayo Dilipaha.
Very good. Radhika Mataji can go ahead with the 45th verse.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Shaubari Utaka Shibi Devala Pipalada Sharashvato Dava Parashara Bhuri Chenaha Yenye Vibhishana Hanumad Upendra Dattha Patashchishena Vidura Shrutadeva Varyaha. Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you so much.
Very good. Meenakshi Mataji, the translation. Okay, Rupali Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanvat Pranam. O Narada, although the potencies of the Lord are unknowable and immeasurable, still, because we are all surrendered souls, we know how he acts through Yogamaya potencies. And similarly, the potencies of the Lord are also known to all-powerful Shiva, the great king of the atheist family, namely Prahlad Maharaj, Swayambhuva Manu, his wife Tatarupa, his son and daughters like Priyavrata, Uttanpada, Akuti, Dehuti, and Prasuti. Pratin Nabari, Ibu, Anga, the father of Bain, Maharaj Dhruva, Ishwaku, Aila, Mukunda, Maharaj Janaka, Gadhi, Raghu, Ambrisha, Sagara, Gaya, Nahusha, Mandhata. Alarka, Satadhanve, Anu, Ranti Deva, Bhishma Bali, Amun Saraya, Dilipa, Saurabhari, Uttanka, Sibi, Devala, Pipalada, Saraswata, Uddhava, Parashara, Burishena, Vibhishana, Hanuman, Sukdev Goswami, Arjuna, Arstin Sen, Vidura, Shrutadeva, etc.
Very good. So these are the Yes, Hare Krishna. So here it mentions about the various personalities, who have, because they have surrendered, they have realized the Supreme Lord. So we can understand it through the verses, part of Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. So here it is said that all these devotees, then it is said, no, have to follow the acharyas, the Veds. Some of them are also the Mahajanas, right? So they are the authorized people who have realized the Supreme Lord by surrendering. So it is said that now how do we know? How did they know, right? So it is said that they have, certainly it is not by mental speculation. Okay, they did not know about the Lord by mental speculation, because in this material world we have seen that everybody wants proof. When anything is said, they want to know, they want the proof to understand its authenticity, right? So it is said that all these leaders, they have great personalities, they have realized the Lord, but not by mental speculation, because you cannot know the Lord by the material potencies which are manifested before our eyes. We cannot know him, right? There, whatever the scientist, you can do various experiments, but you cannot understand, because the Lord is spiritual, right? So such mental speculations, when you try to understand the Lord through mental speculation, the result is that you will end up in despair, in dismissing the case. You will say that no, the Lord does not exist. That way it will be the result. So you should not try to understand. And these great personalities did not understand by mental speculation. But how did they understand? They tried to understand only by surrendering to the Lord. Only when you surrender to the Lord, you can get the mercy of the Lord, and then alone you will come to know about the real knowledge. You will come to the platform of real knowledge. That is what it is said, that Lord is knowable only when you surrender to him, right? So one can gain the knowledge by surrendering to the Lord and by acknowledging the persons who are in the authority that are mentioned over here, right? So even Brahmaji, in the last chapter also we learned that Brahmaji, he explained the entire cosmic manifestation, the creation, right? Even then he said that, but still we cannot understand the Lord fully. And then there also we understood that it is not very important to understand the intricacies, but more important is to glorify the activities of the Lord. I think Lata Shetty Mataji, you can please mute your microphone. Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Right? So, so this is what. So when we surrender to the Lord, right? Because Lord is not something which is material. He is Adokshaja. He is beyond. Adokshaja means he is
one who could not be understood completely in all respects
by our material senses.
by our
Right?
material senses.
Yeah, he is beyond that. He is beyond the
material.
material conception, right? So if we try to understand, right, it is said that when we touch something, we know that, yeah, this is this. But not the Lord. Lord is beyond that. So for that, you have to surrender to the Lord. Then when surrender to the Lord, now we are so sinful, isn't it? So how can we approach the Lord? So we can approach the Lord through a guru. So we can know him by surrendering to a guru. So how should we surrender to a guru? There is a verse in Bhagavad Gita 4.34. Isn't it? What does it say?
Tadvidhi paripatena paripatena.
Yes. Can you continue, Mataji? Tadvidhi paripatena.
Paripratena sikha upadeshansite gnanam gnaninas tasvadashinaha.
Yeah. We have to, with humility, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. You serve your guru, you with humility, you have to ask the questions from your guru. Because these great personalities, it is also said that dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam. The intricacies of the knowledge of the Lord, the transcendental knowledge of the Lord is there within this guru who have seen the tattva. Jnaninas tattva darshana. They have seen the truth and it is there with them in Guhayam. It is Nihitam Guhayam. It is the confidential part. So then how? So that is why you have to follow Mahajino Yena Gata Sapanta. You have to follow them. You have to surrender to them. Then that will be revealed to you, isn't it? So there are 6 aspects of surrender also, which has been explained. Anybody who knows about the 6 aspects of surrender?
Anya Abhilashita Shunyam, Mataji.
That is the verse. There are 6
Okay,
aspects
Mataji.
that also come. Like, it is a Anukulyasya Krishnasya, right? Whatever is favorable
Yes,
for
Mataji.
Krishna, that you have to accept. Okay, and then second says that you have to reject what is not favorable for Krishna consciousness. Third is Rakshasya Titi Vishwaso, that you should be firm faith that Lord will protect you. Goptritva Varnam, that it is, you should desire the mercy, that you should depend on the Lord, just like a son who depends upon his father, for the mercy of the Lord. Atma Nikshepanam, surrender to him, Karpanya, with humility. These are the various stages of surrender. Okay, when you do it in this way, you can realize. So earlier it is said that you cannot realize the Lord. But then again, Lord Brahma say you can realize. You can realize the Lord by the surrender to the Lord. Right? So we have to approach the light. We are in the darkness. We are diseased. It is not possible for us with our limitations to understand the Lord. If you try to understand Lord, there will be fall down. You cannot achieve him. So whatever the rules and regulations are there, you follow that. Then only so you can achieve it. So here it says that the great, even Shiva, Mahadeva, Brahma, the greatest of all, they have all accepted it and they have realized it. Therefore, we should. Further, it says that the verse in Srimad Bhagavad Gita also, Mahatmanas tu mam bharta, devim prakritim ashritaha, bhajante ananya manaso, jnatva bhutadim avyayam. They are Daivim Prakriti. They are of the divine nature, who the Mahatmas. Therefore, they are not under the control of the 3 modes. Since they are not under the control, this is possible when you surrender. Then it is possible, to surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord. And when you surrender, at once the Lord takes control. Otherwise, we cannot overcome these 3 modes. Daivihesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya. Mameva ye prapadyante Maya metam tarantite. You take the shelter of the Lord, then only you can cross these 3 modes of material nature. And thus you can understand the Supreme Lord. So here it speaks about the importance of surrender, how you should surrender, and giving us the examples of the various personalities who have surrendered and who has realized the Lord.
Mataji, it is reference CC Madhya Leela 22.100.
Which Mataji?
Now you were telling about the
Krishna
6
says,
divisions of surrender.
Yes, the divisions
I
of
have
surrender.
posted
Yes,
that in the group, Mataji.
yes,
Hari.
yeah. These are the various stages of surrender, because the other day during one of the class, somebody was asking, I am a neophyte, how do I surrender? See, all these answers will come in the further. Surrender is not in anybody's hand. Surrender is within ourselves. We have to, come to that humility, humble. When we are having faith in one concept, when we are having faith, you have to accept the instructions given also. This next verse is also very nice. We can understand it. Yeah. Who would like to recite?
May I recite, Mataji?
Meenakshi Mataji, no problem. You can go ahead.
Okay, Mataji. Te vai vidhanti atitaranti cha deva mayayam strisudra guna huna sabhara api papa jiva yadi adbhuta krama parayana shila shiksas triyoga jana api kim usruta dharanaye. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Sudha Mataji, you can go ahead with the translation.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandak
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna. Pranam.
Surrendered souls, even from groups leading sinful lives, such as women, the laborer class, the mountaineers and the Siberians, or even the birds and beasts, can also know about the science of Godhead and become liberated from the clutches of the illusory energy by surrendering unto the pure devotees of the Lord and by following in their footsteps in devotional service. Thank you,
Hare
Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So here it is said that even the surrendered souls, even from the groups leading from sinful lives, even though you are in any level of material life, if you are surrendered, you can understand the superior, the supreme personality. So giving examples of such as women, labor class, mountaineers, and Siberians. So this becomes a very controversial statement. Whenever this comes, everybody is like, why it is mentioned that the women, sinful life such as women, right? What is your understanding? Why it is mentioned? Any thoughts?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandat Pranam. Maybe because women are emotionally attached to their families and all.
Yeah,
Emotional
and
pools.
yeah. There are four principles that we should not be doing. That is illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and
Gambling.
Yeah. So it is said that the women have the power to attract, right? But this is all on material level and not on a spiritual level. In the spiritual level, we know there are so many elevated souls in the woman body, right? Who are also even spiritual masters, isn't it? Then Shubharao Prabhu, can you please? Shubharao Prabhu.
Mataji, I just want to ask, what about these birds and beasts? They say they can also know about the science of God.
1 minute.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Actually, 1 minute, I will come to it. Can you mute Shubharao Prabhu? 1 minute.
I'm muting Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry,
Or even the beast and all, you can say the demoniac nature. There are so many in the birds class. You can say that there are so many elevated, persons who are in the body of a bird, right? Who have achieved the liberation, isn't it? In the Siberians, they say that these are a class of tribal people who have achieved liberation. Even it is saying that even if they are in that lower category also, if they surrender to the Lord, they can understand the Lord. The mountaineers, it doesn't mean that those who are climbing, it means those tribal people who are living in the hilly area, who are involved in activities of killing animals, for their livelihood. Understood? So even anybody from that category also, right? If they accept the surrender, if they surrender to the Lord, then they can understand. It is not very difficult. That is the understanding. So here Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita 18.66, right? Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam raja. You come under my shelter, right? Then I will reveal to you. So the personality of Godhead is not present in our eyes, right? So in that case, what do we do? Whom do we surrender? The question may be asked, right? So how do we surrender? It is that we have to take the shelter of of our Guru. So we see here that what it meant to say is that devotional service does not require any qualification. This is what is the main understanding, right? When we in this material world, if you want to go for a job, for any post, right, you should have an equivalent degree. But for a devotional service, You do not require a equivalent. You do not require any degree. You do not require any qualification. You have to just follow the process that has been told to you. Surrendering is that, and surrendering, how you can surrender, that is in your hand, right? You can surrender immediately and you can get the realization, or gradually, if it is very difficult, then you engage in yourself in various seva. Okay, whenever there is any activities, you engage yourself in those seva, automatically that realization will come, that purification will happen, and thus the realization. So when we say that surrender to the Lord means surrender, because we are so sinful, it is not possible for us to approach the Lord. So we have to approach a guru. Why a guru? Because a guru is a representative of a Lord. So when we select a guru also, we should know whether that it is in the parampara. It is a bona fide guru who is not giving any message of mental speculation, but it is from the parampara, what has been told, who is following the earlier acharyas. That has to be identified. Only by the loving representative of the Lord, it is said here, there is a statement in the purport that a bona fide representative of the Lord is good as God himself. Or in another words, the loving representative of the Lord is more kind and more easy to approach. So what is the understanding? So what do we understand by this? What is the thought? Nandini
We have to
Mataji,
up-
can you?
Because already he has experienced about God, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So it is
So
said
it is,
that
so it is very easily he will connect us to the Lord. As now, as you are taking class and giving us knowledge, we are able to understand Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam easily. The same way, if we connect to a higher soul, so he will make us to realize in a easy way, and we can approach Lord easily. Hare Krishna.
very good. Anybody else? The statement that
Yeah, like a forest, if we get into a dense forest, we'll be lost. When we have a guidance, proper guidance, they will hold us and take us properly to get the surrender to God. Proper
Yeah.
guidance will be given.
So the living representative of the Lord is more kind and more easy to approach. Anybody? More you can add to it? Whatever is said is true.
See, we cannot directly approach or attain Krishna. We have to go to the parampara disciplic section, follow it, and we have to accept Guru because he is the representative of the God. He is equivalent to God because he possesses the same qualities. And when we accept him and follow under his instructions and guidance, then we can easily attain Krishna and we can see Krishna through his eyes.
Very good. Yeah, so we see that all the facilities has been made by the Lord to elevate us, right? To get us rid of this material condition. So even the Guru, his purpose is also the same as that of the Supreme Lord. He also wants, though he is in the platform, the pure devotees of the Lord, they are on the platform of prema, but still they come down at the bhava state. And then because why? They want to deliver us. They deliver us from this material world, right? Any examples? Who have taken all the atrocities, when he approaches also the common man. He had,
Jagai Matai.
yeah,
Srila Prabhupada.
yes. So we see that these great souls, their only aim, their only purpose is to deliver. Prabhupada, he was in his old age, he was so sick. Even then, till the end, he kept writing books. Why? Through the books, we will get the message of the Lord. We will know the ultimate, the way, ultimate way, how to get rid of this material miseries. Because day in and day out, every moment there is a difficulty, there is anxiety. So how to come out of this anxiety? We may, if we do not have the correct knowledge, we may just wander in search of it and thus get lost. So we see that is why they are very kind. We are more kind and more easy to approach. Okay. A sinful soul, again in the purport it said, a sinful soul cannot approach the Lord directly, but such a sinful soul can easily approach a pure devotee of the Lord. So when we say that I am a neophyte, how do I surrender? Surrender is in you. You have faith in that. So whatever instruction is, because initially it is through the mercy of the devotee you come. You can get a chance to hear, right? So that devotee also would be speaking not anything about what he wants. He is just like a postman. He is delivering what has been told. And through that devotee, he will lead you to the pure devotees of the Lord, the Siksha Guru, the Diksha Guru, right? So whatever instruction is given, we have to follow that, right? Yes, if we have doubt, we can clear that, but our doubt should be in such a way that it is helping us to progress, not that ego should not come. Yeah, my Siksha Guru told me that you read Narsimha Kavacham, but I like only Hare Krishna mantra. We should, that mentality, that should not happen, right? So we should accept whatever is being told to us. We should have that faith. We should be humble. Only then we can realize it, and only then we can reach our ultimate goal. So the realization of the science of God and relief from this unnecessary and useless struggle of existence are not at all difficult for a willing candidate. You can see, you can experience this. We have seen day in and day out. Those who have the doubt, that same doubt, they will be having again and again, because they are not ready to accept. If you are not ready to accept, then that doubt keeps on coming. You will not progress. This is a very important statement given in the purport. But they are very difficult for persons who are not surrendered, but only simple, but not. But they are very difficult for person who are not surrendered, so but only simple fruitless speculators. Okay, this is their understanding. So we understand from these two verses that one needs the mercy of the Lord to understand the Lord, and this mercy is possible only when you surrender to the Supreme Lord. So we are sinful, we cannot approach the Supreme Lord, so we should approach the Guru. We should take the guidance of the devotees of the Lord. Only then we can understand him. So very elaborately in these two verses, the importance of surrender and acceptance is given. I hope it is clear. If any doubts, if no, then we can go further.
No, Mataji.
Very clear, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So here we understood that Brahma said, he told about all the incarnation. Then he said that it is very difficult to understand. But at the same time, he said, no, it is easy if you surrender and take the shelter of a guru. So we understand that how important it is to take initiation and come under the shelter of a guru. Otherwise, it is not possible. Then further, since this chapter is speaking about the various incarnation, then Brahmaji says that now I will speak about the other two features of the Lord, like the Brahman feature and the Paramatma feature. Okay, so we go ahead with the next verse. Yeah, that is the 47th verse. Who would like to recite?
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Can I read, Mataji?
You did not read, no, Mataji, today?
No, Mataji, I didn't read.
Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
Mataji, can you help me out, Mataji? Repetition.
Shashvat prashantam abhayam pratibodha matram.
Sashvat prashantam abhayam pratibodha matram.
Shuddham samam sadasat paramatma tattvam.
Suddham samam sadasatta paramatma tattvam.
Shabdo nayatra puruka. Shabdo nayatra purukara kavan kriyarto.
Sabdo nayatra purukar rakavan kriyarto.
Maya paraitya Vimukhe cha vilajamana.
Maya paraiti abhimukhe cha vilajjamana.
Tatvai padam bhagavata paramasya pumso.
Tadvai padam bhagavata paramasya pumso.
Brahmeti yat vidurajastra sukham vishokam.
Brahmeti yad vidurajashra sukham visokam. Hare Krishna
Hare-
Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Yes. Those who have not read can go ahead. Nandini Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. What is realized as the absolute Brahman is full of unlimited bliss without grief. That is certainly the ultimate phase of the supreme enjoyer, the personality of Godhead. He is eternally void of all disturbance and is fearless. He is complete consciousness as opposed to matter. Uncontaminated and without distinctions, he is the principal primeval cause of all causes and effects, in whom there is no sacrifice for fruitive activities and in whom the illusory energy does not stand. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this verse, bit technical kind of, that we'll try to understand, because here it describes about the Paramatma feature and the Brahman feature. Okay. So here it is Shashvat Prashantam Abhayam Pratibodha Matram Shuddham Samam Sad Asat Paramatma Tattva. So these two lines, it is describing about the Paramatma Tattva, that is the Paramatma. So it says that the Paramatma feature is Shashvat. That means it is eternal. It is Prashantam. It does not have any disturbances. Abhayam. It is fearless. Pratibodha Matram. It gives knowledge. It is Shuddham. It is pure. Samam Tat Asat. That means it is equipoised. And that is the Paramatma Tattva. Okay. So we will go in detail about what to understand from this verse. Okay. So here it is said that Shashvat, right? The Paramatma feature is eternally, right? So for us, you can understand that to be peaceful, the main thing that is required is we have to be neutral, isn't it? So similarly, the Paramatma feature of the Lord is eternally peaceful because it is neutral in all circumstances. The definition of Paramatma in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, it says that Upadrishtanu, anybody, the verse?
Upadrashtanu mantascha bharta Paramatmetu chapyukta dehismin purushapara.
Bharata Bhokta Maheshwaram Paramatmeti Chapyukta Deha Asmit Purusham. So he is Upadrishta. That means he is the
one who sees from above.
overseer, right? He will just witness, right? Mantacha. He will give whatever you are desiring. He makes the arrangement, right? Bharta Bhokta Maheshwaram. He is the Supreme Lord. And that is the Paramatma which is present in everybody. He is the Purusha Parama, right? So he is eternal, peaceful in the sense there is no disturbances, right? He is equal to all. Samam, right? Samam Asad Asad. That means that same Paramatma you will find in the body of human, he will find in the body of a man, animal, in the body of a hog, reptile, snake, everybody. There is no discrimination. He is present as Paramatma in all the living entities, right? He does not show any Pakshapet is not there. He is equal. Therefore, there is no disturbances. He is neutral. That is why he is Shashwat and he is Prashantam. But the Bhagwan feature of the Lord, right? He says that ye bhajante mam bhaktya maite teshu chapmyam. Those who are those devotees who always worship me, I am very dear to them, right? Then it is said that Pratibodha Matram. The Paramatma feature is Pratibodha Matram, means it gives us the knowledge, right? So what is that knowledge? That we have to understand, right? So what it is said that in the purport, Hare Krishna, it is said that here, if you go to see the word to word meaning, can somebody read out what is the word to word meaning of Pratibodha Matram?
Mataji, can you scroll? Hare Krishna.
Yeah,
Fine.
it's the conscious opposed to the material counterpart.
Yes, the consciousness opposed to the material counterpart, right? So it gives us the knowledge, that is the difference between the material and the spiritual, right? It is just the opposite conception of material existence, right? In the material existence, you can understand that the Paramatma is the super soul, right? And are we the body? No, we are the soul, isn't it? So there is a relationship because between the soul and the soul, that is the soul and the super soul. Just like on the material ground, you can say the father and a son, right? The father and the son, there is a relationship of nearness, right? Because of that relationship of that nearness, they develop an affection, correct? Similarly, in the spiritual world, this Paramatma feature of the Lord, which is the super soul within us, and we, the soul and the super soul, they have got a nearness, a relationship. Because of this relationship, they develop a supreme conception of affection, right? But in the material world, this relation, this affection, it has got limitation. But in the spiritual world, this affection, okay, this affection does not have any limitation. This affection is full, right? So when the Supreme Personality is met, there is fullness of affection, which is manifested because of the reality of the affectionate relationship of a soul to the super soul. We are also spiritual. So in relationship with the spiritual, we experience a fullness of affection, which is without any limitation. Whereas in the material world, that affection which we develop, that is of a limit, which has got limitation. So he is the super soul or the Paramatma within everybody's heart. And in the limited state of affairs, that means when we are limited, when we are liberated, that this is not the highest stage of liberation, it is the liberation from the material attachment. The person who go for the realization of the Paramatma feature, they adopt the Ashtanga Yoga process, right? The Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, right? They control their senses and then they go into dharana, dhyana, and then they reach the samadhi stage. So that liberated stage is liberation from the affairs, the material attachment. But there is full-fledged affection for the Lord is awakened. That is what it is say that when we realize the Paramatma feature of the Lord, we realize the eternal and the knowledge, Sat and the Chit factor. Is this clear? Hari Bol?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Correct, right? So we understand that this is so there is unlimited flow of everlasting happiness, and that happiness is described as what you call as Brahma. In the further verse, it is written as it is called the Brahma Saukyam, right? So here he says that it is further it is said that it is Shuddham, right? The Paramatma Tattva is Shuddham, which indicates that the senses of the personality of the Lord is not of like that of the material elements. They are all transcendental, free from all the contaminations of material identification. So similarly, when even we have to get purified, right? So the liberated souls are devoid of senses, otherwise they cannot have any reciprocation. So when we say that the liberated soul are devoid of senses, that means what? Are they devoid of the senses? That means they have the senses are purified. They are not on the matter. They know that this senses which has been given, it has to be utilized in the service of the Lord. So the senses of both the Lord and the devotees are without material contamination, and they are because they are beyond the material cause or effect. So in this material world, all the activities which we use, it is for our sense gratification, whereas in the material world, we use it for the service of the Lord. So there is no distinction between the material and the spiritual senses. So here he speaks about the Paramatma feature, and then further it says that it speaks about the Brahman feature of the Lord, where in the verse it is said that the Brahman feature is Brahma Tattva Ajastra Sukham. That means the Brahman feature, there is unlimited happiness. Why there is unlimited happiness? I will just...
It is complete.
Yes, it is complete. Yeah. Yeah. Brahmeti tad vidur ajasra sukham vishokam. Okay, it is said that there is unlimited happiness. That is because there is no material misery. Okay, that is so the anxiety that we have in this material world is what? Birth, death, disease, isn't it? So that anxiety is there, but this misery is not there in the Brahman feature. So we feel that that time we get that satisfaction. Oh, it is, we will be eternal, right? So that is what the Brahman feature, we say that it is the eternal aspect, correct? And the Paramatma feature, where we get the eternity as well as the knowledge. That is Sat and the Chit.
Hare Krishna. Mataji, can I ask a question?
Yes, yes, Mataji.
Yeah, Mataji, you said that in Brahman feature, one realizes only Sat and Chit.
Only Sat.
Only Sat. That is only eternal.
Eternal.
Okay. And just now you said that Brahman, the last sentence, the last verse.
The Paramatma feature is Sat,
and Chit.
eternal and knowledge. Chit.
Correct. But here it is written Brahmeti Yad Vidur Asaj, the last verse, last sentence.
Yeah, we'll come to it, Mataji. Okay, it is said Brahma Tattva Ajastra Sukham. That is, it is unlimited happiness over here. This unlimited happiness is because there is absence of material distress. But this happiness is not the real happiness. Right?
Okay,
Real
because
happiness,
here we have not
complete,
realized Bhagavan. Okay.
Yeah, the Bhagavan feature. And then it is said that this Brahman feature is Vishokam. That is, there is no grief in the Brahman feature. You can see that Brahmeti Yat Vidur Ajastra Sukham Vishokam. It is Visho. There is no grief. Further, in above that last line, the second last line, it is that Tadvai Padam Bhagavata Paramasya Pumso. That means this Brahman feature is just one aspect of one of the feature of the Supreme Lord. Right? So this Brahman feature, it is the effulgence, which is just one of the feature of the Supreme Lord. And that Supreme Bhagavan form is the complete understanding. Further above it, you can see that Shabdona Yatra Purukara Kavan Kriyartho. This Brahman feature, you cannot describe it having any activity. Like we cannot say that the Brahman feature did this or that this. You cannot use, there is no activity, did this or that, right? And this feature, further it says, Maya Paraitya Bhimukha Cha Vilajamana. And this Brahman feature, again it is said that this is one of the feature of that Supreme Lord. Okay, here that Supreme Lord, in front of whom the Maya is ashamed to stand. You're getting my point, Mataji? It is talking about the Brahman feature.
Yes,
Brahmeti Tat Vidur Ajastra. It is talking about the Brahman feature, which is Ajastra Sukham, that is unlimited happiness, and there is no grief. And it is Tadvai Padam Bhagavata Paramasya Pumso. It is one of the feature of the Lord, which cannot be described as having activities with Shabda or, you cannot. But it is one of the feature of that Supreme Lord. Maya Paraitya Abhimukhe Vilajamana. That it is one of the feature of that Supreme Lord, of that Bhagwan, in front of whom the Maya cannot stand. That is the understanding of this verse. Hope I have conveyed it.
Mataji, 1 second. Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
if we want to understand everything on in the mental level, we are expecting everything as a materialistic. Is it not,
Yes.
Mataji?
Yes.
This verse is to be understand. This is nothing but an experience. Is it not?
Yes. Yes. It is an experience. It is how we conceive.
If we go on, if we want to understand the facts, we automatically our mind will start. Mind only, it attracts only that materialistic. Then we can't able to understand the facts. Anything happens only by experience. Is it not? Am I right?
Experience in the sense, Prabhu, I did not get exactly what you're conveying.
Experience means, suppose if we live ahankara, materialist desires, everything, automatically we will become kali. Kali means, in Kannada, kali means vacant, empty.
Correct. With mental speculation,
when we will become empty, and if you focus to the Supreme Lord, automatically grace will come. Experience. That itself is the experience. It can't able to explain in material modes.
Yeah, that is why the Bhagwan feature of the Lord for our understanding, it is described with respect to the material conception, so that we get an understanding of the Lord, the complete Bhagwan feature of the Lord. Okay, Prabhu. So we go ahead.
1 second.
Yes, Prabhu.
In Kannada.
Yes, Prabhu.
Are you able to understand Kannada, Mataji? No.
No, Prabhu.
No. Okay. In Kannada says, Keಳುವವನ ಭಾಗ್ಯ ಹೇಳುವವನ ಬಾಯಲ್ಲಿ. Means anything if I want to seek, expect from you, that will be told by you automatically. That is the grace. Have you got the point, Mataji? If I want to if I want to take anything from from your kind self, whatever may be the case, that doubt will be cleared automatically by your kind self only. That is the conversation between our soul and your soul.
Yeah. To understand about the Lord, you should first have faith, and you should accept what is being told to you.
Yes, definitely.
That willingness should be there, then you can realize.
Yes. Sorry, Mataji. If I wrong, please.
No.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Yeah. So we go on to the 48th verse. We are just five minutes silent.
Mataji, yes. Can I read the text, Mataji?
Yes, you can recite the verse, Mataji.
Text 48. Sadryanniyam yatayo yamakarta hetim jayosvarat eva nipana kantitram indra. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Mataji. Should I read the translation?
Anybody else who has not read can take up. Shubharao Prabhu, you can take up the translation.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Pranam.
Can I read translation?
Yes.
Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. In such a transcendental state, there is no need of artificial control of the mind, mental speculation, or meditation as performed by the Jnanis and Yogis. One gives up such processes as the heavenly king Indra foregoes the trouble to dig a well.
Very good. So we understood that in the 47th verse, it describes about the Brahman and the Paramatma feature of the Lord. Further, Lord Brahma. Now in the 48th verse, it describes that more than this is the Bhagwan feature. Okay. So we can. Shubhara Prabhu, can you just mute Prabhu, please?
Yes, I read. Purport, shall I read, Mataji?
No, Prabhu. You can mute your microphone, Prabhu. Very good. Yeah. So here it is the word, we see that in the yatayo, right? Yatayo means the yogis and the mystic, right? The yogis who are concentrating their mind on the Brahma and the Paramatma feature through the Jnana and Ashtanga Yoga. For the Paramatma feature, they adopt the Ashtanga Yoga process, and through Jnana, they are trying to understand the Brahman feature. Further, the word Jahiyu, give up, Etim Sadhana. It is said that those who concentrate their mind on the Brahman feature and the Paramatma feature of the Lord, when they reach their destination, that is the Brahma Jyoti, they give up their sadhana. Jayayu Hetim Sadhana. That is Jayayu Hetim. They give up their sadhana. Through various, to achieve that position, right, of the Brahma Jyoti, they did a lot of austerities. Okay, lot of austerities and penance they do. But once they merge over there, they do not continue their sadhana. In other words, that they give up their activities with their senses, just like Swarat Eva Nipana Khanitram Indra. So this is the analogy given, kind of like Indra, right? Indra is a post. Who gets that post of Indra? One who has accumulated lot of pious activities. So digging a well is also considered as a pious activity, because you have dug that well for the welfare of the others, where the people can use the water and use it for various activities. So that is also a pious activity. So doing so many pious activity, when that person gets the position of Indra, once he gets that position, there is no need for him to do any more pious activities, just like the digging of the well. He will discontinue. So a person who has done many pious activity, he gets benefited, right? Thus he becomes an Indra. So once he has achieved the prayojana, he will discontinue the sadhana. That is the one of the drawback of this. But a devotee, right? A devotee who performs devotional service to the Lord, even after achieving the desired goal, they continue doing their sadhana. They continue doing the process of devotional service. Prabhupada says that the yogis, they give up Ashtanga Yoga and austerities, like how Indra is indifferent to the digging of well. Once he reaches that position, he feels that no need of further doing any austerity. But the devotees are indifferent, right? How Indra is indifferent, the devotees are indifferent to the path of Jnanis and yogis. They do not. The pure devotees and the devotees of the Lord, they are indifferent to that process. They continue doing the devotional service even after reaching the desired goal. That is what is explained. That is the difference that is given in this verse of 48. Is that clear? Radhika Mataji, Shubha Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Very good.
Okay. So we see that 43 to 45, it says that you have to surrender, right? Whom you have to surrender? You have to surrender to your Guru. Because only when you know surrender, and you can know the Lord by the mercy of the Lord and his pure devotees. Further, 47th verse, it describes about the further three features of the Lord, the Brahman and the Paramatma feature. And they say that these are just the aspects of the Supreme Lord, in front of whom even the Maya Devi is ashamed to stand. Okay. And then 48th verse, it gives that the Jnanis and the Yogis, whose goal is the Brahma Jyoti, they give up their path once they reach the goal. Those who follow the path of artificial mental speculation and meditation finally give up, just like how Indra gave up the activity, the demigod who forgives the trouble of digging the well. Just to understand. So the Prabhupada has given the understanding like how Indra is indifferent. Similarly, devotees are indifferent to the path. They do not follow that path. They continue doing their devotional service, even here in this material world as well as in the spiritual world. So that's why they say that for a pure devotee, it is immaterial where he is, because he is always engaged. His mind, words, and speech, activities are always engaged in the service of the Lord. So this is what which we did for today. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. if there is any doubt, hope I have conveyed it in the best way I could. If any doubt, I can. Yeah. So what were the features of the Lord that we studied today?
Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan.
Brahman, Padmatma, and Bhagwan.
Bhagwan. So it is said that the Brahman feature, you get unlimited happiness. So what is that happiness?
To see the Lord,
There's no material misery.
Yes, exactly. Somebody tells it very right. That happiness is, there is no material misery. That is the happiness there. So what is that material misery?
Birth, death,
old age and disease.
Yeah, there is no birth age. So that is why in the Brahman feature we say that it is the eternal aspect. They feel they experience that happiness because there is eternity, right? And the Paramatma feature, what are the features of the Paramatma that is described in this verse?
Sat and Chit, eternal and knowledge.
Pure, eternal.
It is eternal and Chit.
Uncontaminated.
What was the word used? It is Shuddham, Prashantam, Pratibodha.
Pratibodha Matram.
Yes, it gives us the contrast, right? The knowledge from the material world. In the material world, everything has got a limitation, but in the spiritual world, it is all in fullness. This Sat and the Chit feature. Haribol.
Thank you, Mataji, for the wonderful class. Hoping to have you again in another session for enlightening us all. Devotees, if there are any other doubts, otherwise we can wind up the session with Vaishnava Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dhamma Pranam. Mataji, could you please explain once again the benefit of all three features? I'm missing something on the Paramatma level.
See, Prabhu, the Brahman feature, these are the three aspects, right, by which you can realize the Lord. The Brahman feature, the Paramatma feature, and the Bhagwan feature. So the Lord himself in itself is in full, right? All the features are having all the opulences in its full, but it is only our perception. Like I said that you have a defective vision, right? And you cannot see something far, and you can see that thing as hazy. So, and you accept that as the real. So that is your perception, right? But when you wear the specs, you can see that properly, clearly, all the features. Similarly is the Brahman feature, and the speculators, they accept the Brahman feature as the Supreme Lord, the impersonal. So this Brahman feature in this verse, it is described that it gives us unlimited happiness. So that unlimited happiness, that which you should understand, is only because there is no material misery in it. Therefore, we understand that we are eternal. That is what the eternity feature of the Brahman aspect of the Lord. While the Paramatma feature, it is said that this feature is what do you call it? It is Shuddham, Abhayam, Avyayam, Prashantam, and Pratibodha Matram. That means it gives us the distinction that in the material world, whatever happiness we get or whatever affection we develop, it has got limitation. But that affection, why we develop, is because of the relationship we have on a bodily concept. But whereas in the spirituality, it is we are the soul, right? So when the soul is in relationship with the soul, that is the super soul, right? So automatically that supreme affection develops. So that is the understanding, that is the knowledge we have, that in this stage, a person understands this when he is liberated from the material attachment. But the only defect of these two features is that, like in the last verse, it says that once both these jnanis and the mayavadis, the jnanis and the yogis, right? Their destination is Brahmajyoti. But once they reach their destination, that is it. They do not progress. They do not do any more activities. So therefore, the devotees of the Lord, they are indifferent. They do not do those activities, right? Because they continue. They do devotional service in this material world, and as well as on reaching the destination, they continue doing the service of the Lord, because that is our constitutional position. Jivera Swarupa Hai, Krishnera Nityadas. That is our constitutional position, and we continue to do the devotional service. So the Bhagwan feature of the Lord, it describes the supremacy of, of the Bhagwan feature of the Lord. But all these features are describing about the same person, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. Is it okay, Prabhuji?
Mataji. Yes, Mataji. Thank you.
Okay. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Ananta-koti Vaishnava ki jai. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare
Just
Krishna,
clarification,
Mataji.
Mataji. Mataji, Prabhupada's, Srila Prabhupada's explanation about that train light we see, and as
Yes.
the train approaches, that is applicable here, na Mataji, to understand the Lord.
Understand the features of the Lord, like
Features
when
of
we
the
are when we are understanding that when the train has not arrived fully before that itself, so they realize that when they get that happiness, then they feel that eternity, then they feel that is the ultimate the feature of the Lord.
Yes,
then later on, those who progresses a little more, right, then they
Yes,
understand that it has got features. But then further, when you there is someone like the train feature, the motorman, he comes down and he takes around. So when we take the shelter of a guru and he teaches us and he guides them, then we reach the ultimate goal, that is the Bhagwan.
Yes, okay, Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Hare
Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranams, Mataji.
So I end the session, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Mataji.
9:30
Hare Krishna.
tomorrow.
Dandavat
Hare
pranam.
Krishna.
Thank you,
Dandavat pranams
Mataji.
to all.
Dandavat
Hare
pranam.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Hare Krishna.
Mataji.
Dandavat pranam.
I end,